How's everybody today?
Good.
Good.
We got our Starbucks, so we're good.
Oh, good.
Somewhat awake.
Hey, Beth.
Hey everybody, I'm going to try something new today because
I was going to say that looks like a new place.
Oh yeah, well it's quiet here so I can be out in the open. But I'm trying two devices because my laptop is not good with connectivity. So I'm going to do my phone and my laptop, kind of practicing for tonight. Where I can.
We will be your test group. We're happy to do it.
So, okay, yeah, so I've got one without video and one with it. Big friendly crowd.
Hi, everyone.
Morning.
Oh.
We want to do each of these new business items separately, a vote separate for each one. We'll just put them together. Okay.
I'm going to do the same thing tonight, Kathy.
Okay.
Hey, Kat, I was looking at the live stream
Yeah.
last number. The numbers I looked at, we were up to 145.
Yeah, I saw that too. I checked last night. That's awesome.
Which is awesome. So people clearly don't use the Zoom
Yeah.
link because I think what we have at a max of 12
Mm-hmm.
with, at least 4 or 5 of us being, standards. So that just something we just got to keep in mind. We don't, forget that because we're still reaching pretty big audience.
And that's our goal, to
Yeah.
just to reach as many people as possible. So whether Facebook or Zoom, Zoom's a forum. We can just spread it as many places as possible.
Yeah, and that was really great that it was through Comprehensive FHS. They were able to pick up for us due to the technical difficulty, which was good.
And we're going to work on that today. We're not sure if it was like an
Yeah.
update with our Zoom account or something, but it wasn't even giving an option to share it on the Facebook page. So
Yeah. So we'll work on that before tonight's meeting.
Okay.
Is Sharon coming today? Do we know?
I haven't heard from her.
I believe she is.
Okay.
Let me just double check real quick.
Mom just sent me a picture. She lives in upstate New York and they are covered in snow.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
Oh no, I have
I
to
know.
call my son. I have.
Yeah, I mean, they live, I grew up not far outside, like in between Rochester and Syracuse, which is basically the snow belt. So they might have it and other people might not, but
Yeah, I think it's lake effect, right? Good
yeah,
old-
absolutely. Yep.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. But this is still a little unusual. This is late.
Yeah. This late.
Yeah.
All right. Sharon did send me an email that she does plan to attend.
So we'll wait another couple minutes. So do we want to get started?
I would, Kathy.
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
can.
So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 9:18. Hello, everyone. We're going to start with approval of minutes. So to approve the attached minutes from April 7th, 2021 meeting, do I have a motion?
Ellen, motion.
Wendy, second.
You? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Okay, so we're going to move on to subcommittee updates, and we'll start with the Farmington High School Building Committee website updates. Do we have any updates related to the website?
Yep,
We
Devin
do.
will pull them up. The page we've been working on is a dedicated project cost page. So on this page, we have the language that we have been producing in all of our newsletters and on the FAQ and everywhere. We also have, Devin, if you keep scrolling, added a table that we always give the numbers based off the average assessment. So here it would put in, people can see their own personal impact. We also put home market value because not everybody knows what their assessed value is. So this chart will enable people to go say, you know, I have this amount for my house, this is my total impact, and make it a little bit more real to them. So that will be live soon. And then we've been getting a lot of questions for a little bit more backup information about, you know, where those numbers come from for the financial forecast. So below in the resources area, we're going to include the financial forecast as well as the video of Joe Swetsky presenting the financial forecast to town council. So that way it puts context around what people are seeing. We will list out, and I have to add that as well, all of the assumptions that are made in that financial forecast, because that's an important piece of the puzzle. And then all of the bond schedules for the 4 bond issues will be included as well, just for people that want to take a look at it, see where those numbers came from. That's all there. So it'll be the bond issues as well as one additional document that shows, so we have, say, for example, 1 year of a bond issue is $1.2 million. There's actually a reimbursement from the bonding buying agency. So our net cost is different than what's on the bond schedule. And that's the number that's put into the financial forecast. So that's an important piece too, so that all the numbers match up. So that will be there. And then obviously disclaimers and more information that bond issuances are assumptions made for the purpose of the financial forecast. The timing, amount, duration, all of that is determined as the project progresses based on economic conditions and the cash needs of the project. So that will all be included as well. So that's our big update.
Kat, this is really the outline for the budget topic meeting, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
And
perfect.
Joe will be presenting at that topic Thursday meeting.
Kat, so I thought we had a Rotary meeting yesterday. I thought they came up with really excellent questions, some of which we've heard before.
Mhm.
So, and you did a great job answering, you know, the idea that this is an all-in, you know, when it comes to budget, capital, other bonding projects, you know, for the town and the school district, that we're not just taking something in isolation. And I don't know if that's clear in our documents. So I didn't know if we wanted to be, and maybe it is, you know, it's something that keeps coming up. The other thing that keeps coming up is a question about what if it costs more, you know, and I think the answer of, you know, we not only have a contingency, but we also have escalation costs in there. it just seems like those two items continue to come up, at least in my opinion. I don't know what others feel, but it
Yeah.
has been coming up regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I'm going to add on the actual financial forecast, all of that information that you said. This
Okay.
is the assumptions. Town increases, board increases at 3%. CIP, 3% of the operating budget each year. The debt service line is existing and future debt based off of our capital plan. And that also will include 2.2 million a year for Board of Education projects related to the K-8 facilities assessment. So I just listing all of those out.
That's great.
Shows that it's a comprehensive view. And it's, bonding's included, capital budgets are included. We make great revenue assumptions based on historical data. Grand list growth is based on historical data. So, it's all there.
Right. Good.
Kat, can I recommend you put in the rate of inflation too?
Okay.
But sometimes the cost is almost equal to the rate of inflation on a yearly basis. So people look like, I've done this for other towns where you add up 10 years and you're really seeing a very minimal increase in the tax base that just keeps up the inflation rate.
Thank you. Yeah.
You might want to do an historical over the last 10 years and you'd be surprised that actually the increase isn't all that much.
Okay. Yep. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, I think many concerns about the tax increase is when and if they're going to see a big bump in taxes. So I think Ira's point is good about just showing that it's pretty even with the high school project. And it's not planting other capital improvements and bonding and roads and the K-8. Again, I agree, Kathy. We keep hearing that from.
I think there's just they didn't, because typically I don't think municipalities do an all-in and really look at this long term and say, we're not going to look at this project in isolation. And so I think everyone's assumption is that it is a project in isolation. So just making sure we're clear. That we did our homework.
Yeah, and I think also reflecting that, the survey results that 20 to 25% of your residents are, the percentage of are mostly concerned only about money. And you got 75% where it's important, but it's down on the scale. When you've done a follow-up research, you'll be surprised that if 1 in 10, the cost of anything is usually 6 or 7 is a major determining factor. It's when it becomes an emphasis, and the emphasis usually comes from the people trying to get a project done.
Mm-hmm.
And once you just give the numbers, you say, here's what it is, here's what our rate is, what's it, the cost compared. And, so the arguments get less, but you're never going to win against folks or just no matter what you say. And you're never going to satisfy whatever you answer to that group.
I did have, it's right here actually on the screen, the chart that you added, Kat, for just so people could look at more what applies to their home value and assessed value.
Yeah.
Is it clear that those amounts are over the total? We heard some people say over the weekend that's a per year cost, right? When they hear that $500 or under 500 or just under $500 figure, there's some misinformation out there that that's a yearly
Right.
cost or tax.
So the 466 is the total of those 5 years where the high school project contributes to the overall tax increase.
Right.
You're still paying for the project throughout the course of the bond. I mean, it's not just like you're paying only for 5 years, but because of the debt service coming off, the impact of the project on the taxes it's not driving the taxes. Because Devin, if you open up the actual financial forecast, if you go down and you click on hopefully it allows you to, and then scroll to just the bottom here. So keep going right there. So this first year where it's the 7646, the total tax increases by $143.60. And that's inclusive of everything we've talked about, the capital bonding, but all of that. Of that 143, $76.46 is the high school project. So it's over those 5 years where the high school project has an impact on the total dollar increase for the taxes. Because
Right.
again, because the debt service, everything, it's coming off the rolls.
Right. So I just want to make sure on that chart, it's as clear as possible
Yeah.
that grid or whatever that column for the total is not someone increase.
Yep.
Cat, you see it stopped at 650,000 for market cost. How many homes run across that? Is it a very small percentage?
No, I don't think so. I'd have to, I had our finance department produce this. I can see if we need to add more, or, where the number of houses that fit into this are, but, this was produced by the finance department, so I can figure
Yeah.
that out.
Because when I've been tracking sales of Farmington homes, and there's a bunch above 650K. You
Mhm.
might want to go, I think what I saw, if you stopped at 800K, you'd probably be covering probably 98% of the value of the homes. Even though I think people above that level, they understand they're paying more in taxes. I think just emphasizing the average would probably help out here. But as you see with the explanation, like here's the actual increase, but the debt load coming down, people's heads are going to spin trying to figure what's that mean. They're only going to be interested in the total numbers, what they think the increase is going to be per year.
Kat, I just had a question. So home market value, is that equal to assessed value or what? Because there's really a boom going on right now. So is that the right term to use, home market value, or we go on assessed value?
We base the taxes off of assessed value, but assessed value is 70% of the market value of your home. But when you say assessed value, people don't, calculate, they think of what they purchased their house at or what their house is worth, and then doing the 70% of that. So that's why we put both. Is, you can say, oh, I have a $350,000 house. My assessed value is actually 245,000, but that's what the taxes are driven off of. So that's why we put both. And I think the market boom in the value of the house is just what your house is worth. You can also find your actual assessed value and your market value on the assessor's website. Maybe if I put a link to that so people can.
It probably should do that, Kat.
Yeah.
Also, once a market value based upon, is it 2020, 2019? Should put the date in.
Okay. Yeah, good
That-
question.
That might be not a bad thing. If you're not understanding your assessed value, please go here.
Yeah. And you can just do a property search, put your property in, it shows what your assessed value is, what the value of your home is. And that's what we have in our system.
So when you do the topic talk, it might be good to go through and try to explain this in the most basic way possible about, between assessed and value. You're going to find a lot of people can't differentiate the two. They sometimes it's not that people are not smart. It's just that they never they always look at the value of their home.
Right.
Versus the assessed value, which is what you're doing. And so no matter what, it doesn't matter what the assessed value is in reality, because the tax is the tax.
I think that is probably the point, even though we're having this unusual boom in housing costs, the taxable value remains the same. You could have a $650,000 home that then sells for $750,000, right? But your taxes didn't change because of that, right?
Until the reval.
Until the reval, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why you should put in that market value to assess what the date that's based upon, Kat.
Yep. Okay.
And Kat, do we know how often they come around and reassess our houses?
It's even every 4 or 5 years. Our next one is in, I think, two years. It's in the financial forecast. I'll make sure we indicate which year is the reval year, because that is one of the.
Yeah, 'cause I think that
And
would
by
be-
then it will level out, right?
Yeah.
We're just, it wouldn't be good if we were doing it now.
Right. This
So it's
last
good that it's 2
column-
years out.
This last column here, which is fiscal year 23-24, that's the impact of the reval.
Yeah, Wendy, it's usually every 5 years. It used to be
Yeah.
every 10 years, but because of the way the market changes, they had to lower it. And that you know, that's what takes the time.
Yeah, and I just think it would be important to emphasize that too. Like that value is going to be from what date, and that's not every year that's going to be revalued. And then
Right.
people are wondering, just like you were saying, someone was saying earlier, if they think it's this year, then people might start to panic a little bit with the numbers.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other questions? Any other updates for the website that we have? Or is that it?
I don't know if it's a website thing, Kathy, but I want to go back to your comment too about the overall cost you were saying of the project. So maybe it's not exactly what we're talking about here, but we have that project cost information we provide, and maybe we can provide just an explanatory note on that too as well, that we include contingency, that, you know, we're
Yes.
always evaluating. I don't know, we got to think about it a little bit, but that, I think
Yeah.
that's the place it needs to go. Just that it's there and part of our conversations moving forward too.
Yeah, I think the other thing you want to do too on this, Meg, is that whatever's approved on the referendum date, you know, the town can't spend any more money.
Yeah.
But you can explain, people confuse between contingency funds. That mean, oh, you can ask him for more money versus what's built into their overall cost.
Right.
And, you know, and because, you know, when people build a house, and I look and say, why is that costing more? Because and you know, a good bill will remind you, well, to set aside a certain percentage, because particularly if you're renovating a home, you're going to rent, but a new building is usually more predictable than renovating a building. So the contingency cost might not be all that much, but the way materials are running today, I'm sure Mark can do it. You know, it's costing, I just saw yesterday in the paper, an extra almost $20,000 to build a $500,000 home just because of material upgrades and costs. Those are things you can't control, but I assume, you know, Mark, they're going to all be built into contingency based upon the most reasonable estimate.
Correct. And so we've forecasted percentage of escalation, you know, based on our professional estimating consultants and other industry projections. But quite honestly, what today's market looks like, you know, could be very different, you know, by the time we actually get to buying out this project. And so where, you know, where the market has been favorable from the contractor, or I should say from the owner side. In other words, people are getting good rates from their contractors. However, pricing of certain materials, especially on the residential side, like, you know, a sheet of plywood that used to cost, you know, $20 a sheet is now $90 a sheet, or up in the 80s anyway. So it's a little crazy, inflated with wood in particular. So we continue to watch, but I think it's important to note that, you know, we've carried contingencies and escalation percentages year over year through, I think it's 50% of the, you know, up through half of the project. So.
Yeah, I think it'd be clear to say, you know, what a contingency fund actually is based upon, it's just unpredictable costs. It could be materials, but, you know, or assuming that, you know, some contractor come in and they know they have to bid based upon what's coming in. But they also want to notice a contingency. So Mark, would you say the thing that would apply to contingency would be mostly cost of materials? Unpredictability.
I think our escalation, we have escalation built into our numbers, which I think would be cost of materials and labor. The contingencies more set aside for unknowns as we go through the project. You could also use the owner contingency for, let's say the bidding came in favorable and there were certain items that we sort of put on a wish list that we wanted to add. We could use the contingency dollars for those wish list items, if you will.
Yeah, Kat, this might be put into, maybe got in the weeds like this, but put this in when we do the cost. You know, about.
I think we could come up with very, you know, one sentence. Even Kat, you know, Richard's response to the question that came in, there might be some good information in that.
Yeah,
One liner in there that would work well.
Because we are getting questions about, almost at every meeting now and through the website about the
Yeah.
cost of building materials.
And I think it's important, sorry, to also note that it was an independent estimator. It was not, that we, our owner's rep or, our architects did this estimation. It was an independent outside estimate.
Yeah, we actually had two. So the architect had their own third-party estimator, as did we, and then we reconciled the two.
I mean, I think that's, due diligence and, a good part of the process that we were very careful about that.
Yeah. I think due diligence and objectivity, Kathy, would really, that this is objective. It's not based upon a wish list or we
Right.
don't know kind of stuff. It's just normal practice of doing these kind of projects.
I could be wrong, but I wonder if a lot of these questions, it's people relating it to their own lives, right? So you've had work done on your house and the contractor said, yeah, I know 6 months ago I quoted this, but now this has changed, and you're kind of on, there's very rarely a contingency built in. So
Right.
Not a bad idea, Beth. We just went through it, my wife and I. We had someone just do minor painting. It was double the cost of last year, just a painting job.
yeah, and I think
I mean, it's not a bad idea when you talk about it, Kat, that some of you have done your homes out there, pretty kind of, if you go into Home Depot and buying wood and paint, you're probably seeing escalation costs. Well, how do we deal with that? That's really a question you have to answer, Mark. And when we do this talk, how do you manage that and being an unpredictable cost environment? And so that's the way you explain the contingency fund.
Yeah, we'll make sure that's incorporated. I think for that actual topic Thursday meeting, having, like how we derived the cost of the project first, and then have Joe do the tax impact, I think would flow nicely for the presentation.
Sure.
Important if we had this just on a separate page when you're doing the presentation regarding this chart, so you could follow it step by step for people.
Yeah, we could do that as its own slide. Absolutely.
I think there'll be a lot of questions on it.
Yep. Good suggestion.
Okay, we're gonna move on, if everyone's okay with that, to Ira.
Okay.
And he'll provide an update on the newsletter.
Okay, as you remember, we recommended in the beginning that, yes, we had to have social media, we had to have meetings, we had to think of three things: using in a digital world, in person, and also still using traditional direct mail. And so the things we started with in January and February, the first newsletter was just awareness. Where's everything stand right now? This has been hanging around. We had the COVID, and that, the town council approved, our elected officials said, we're moving forward with the project. So that was kind of the awareness. Here are the things we're doing with. The second newsletter or theme, which was March and doing into literally April, was the education. What's this all involved? What are we all doing? So the website modified itself to reflect the educational component. The last one, which I'm going to show you online, is about engagement and future, which is geared towards the audience out there are going to be mostly impacted by the high school. So if you can switch over, Devin, I'm going to show you what we are doing and why we're doing it this way. So if you can, I have to go into share
You
screen.
should be able to share. Yep.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to show you right now, and I want an applause here. What we're doing is, you see, the idea of an infographic. This is an info poster. We're sending out, instead of separate sheets, they're coming together. This opens up to be 11 by 25 piece. And so what you're seeing right here is all the components. This is all about the future, and also about, on the bottom, the practical costs. So the focus is what we want to go remind people why we're doing this. And it's all about the kids, the students, and about the idea which came out of all those studies, particularly what Kathy did with the board, which is preparing our students for a global citizen, and using that idea and all the components that go into it. So you look at this, is all foundation stuff. So we have the site, we have an explanation why it's here. You're walking into the building. We're sensitive to the neighborhood. And lo and behold, you come up here, this is what you get. And then what surrounds it all are all the components and images that were supplied by the architects in order to show all the major components that are go into it. And on the base here are all the kind of mandatories. Why a new high school, tax impact, time frame, and estimated cost. So on this one sheet is everything. So the whole idea on this is saying, okay, engagement is, this is what folks, every household's going to look at this. And we hope that people then open it up and put it on their kitchen table or wherever and sit and get a tour. Basically, this is a visual tour of why this building's being done. So there's three components to it: the facts about it, you know, the vision, and the actual experience in the classrooms. And get people focused on really why, you know, why this is being done. Yeah, it's a building, but it's really a building that's doing something. It's not something that's doing a building. This is what gets lost in these projects. We've got to remind people, the most obvious thing, what's this about? It's about the future of our kids. And it's about being these global citizens, which you all agreed that's what it is. So this is what's going to look like. So you envision something that is a poster that opens up, it folds down, it's going to be glossy, and they open it up because they don't know what it is. And that's a surprise. So I open this up and say, you get all their one sheet about the future, yet respecting the mandatory things we're doing. On the back side, which we're working on right now, are going to be photographs from K-12. We're going to show kids from kindergarten up to high school. We're going to have back there the name of all the committees, the mailer, all the social media postings. So it's a two-sided thing, but this is the major side. So when they turn it over, they're going to see more photographs. And so that's the engagement here. I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen if you're looking. I hope you're not on a smartphone. This will look like gobbledygook, you know, to do it. So I'm going to give you a quick tour. I'm going to bump this up so you get to see basically how we're doing this. So again, here's the center. So a proposed New Farmington High School, a place for enhancing our children's educational learning experience. And it's based upon all that core stuff that is you know, going on, preparing our students, civic mindedness, self-awareness, and all this has been presented in different forms. So we wanted visually to say, this is the focus. When they open it up, it goes right to that. And then as you go take the tour, people read left to right, we have all the major components, the main entrance. So basically you're walking into the building, and then you have the interior, you have the cafeteria, the gym, the auditorium, the basic, kind of the large spaces here that are, you know, going on in support in terms of doing the music and auditorium. Looks like we have a switch over here. One of the photographs, you have to switch out. And then on this side, it gets into the media center, the breakouts, the classrooms, the science, the digital labs, applied arts. And so this is all the images we have, and basically conveys what's kind of going on in the building. I don't want to get into, we also kind of standardize the language. We're using will versus this is a scenario. We want to make it visually engaging because we know the design will be modified. These are images of what's going to be going on. So, in conveying what's important to know. Down at the bottom, I'll start here on right to left. The estimated project costs, which we've just been through, the timeline. And then we have why build a new high school and the tax impact. And so we're covering on the most basic level everything, basically an average resident of Farmington needs to know about the project. And we say, you want to learn a lot more, just go to our website, which has as much as you want to do. And you're keeping it that simple. And presenting it in such a way. So we're taking care of the neighborhood, we're protecting that. We know from the meetings that, you know, it's a pathway and it's protected. You know, we have an entrance here. That's a unified entrance. We're showing her where it's located. So this is about as basic yet informative as you can be. I mean, this can be set up as a digital one on the website, but more importantly, every household getting this document is going to, I think, drive people's complete understanding and engagement into, you know, understanding when they go in the voting booth. we did get some corrections back from, from Meg and from Kathy and from Kat, and they're included in here. There's some minor word changes in here. So that's it, open for, comments. It's, we've done a lot of newsletters kind of going out. We felt we needed to do something different in Farmington and make much more of a visual statement. So people, when they look, they can visualize the future for their kids. And that's what this is about.
Ira,
Yes.
what are clerestory windows?
Oh, clear story windows are above. In other words, it's adding more light on top of space. Which one are you referring to here? Let's see here.
I saw it over on the left.
Physical education, cafeteria, interior. Yeah, clear story windows are skylight. You have skylights and high windows. So light's coming from the side. The clear story is actually, if you go to a church, when you see light above coming, those are clear story windows. So if you think that's a little bit too architectural, we can take that out.
I do. I don't know. Maybe we could think, I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence when they read this, that they want to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about.
No, this is fine. That's the comments. I'm writing it down right now. We tried to catch all the kind of technical terms that were in the original documents. And that one, I'll take that one out. I think you're right. No, take that out. I don't expect you to read this right now. I mean, in terms of going through it, we can send this over. This is the one here, and it'll be left to you, Meg, if you want to share with just the building, the building committee or the subcommittee, if they see anything. Because we have till Friday to do any changes, because this has to go to the printer on Monday to get distributed prior to the quiet period.
I think we can send it out to this group.
Okay.
This is where we're going to get our.
Yeah, I'm going to send this over to you, and then you can.
Really great, Ira. I love it. It's really well laid out. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's combining as best you can. It's still nothing like a piece of paper you can look at that is visual identity. And, it's battling the digital world, because the digital world is very temporary. This looks very permanent. When you get something on a piece of paper, there's a certain permanency about it that social media and online digital world doesn't do.
And when do we expect this to hit the?
It's going to go to the printer. Our game plan is to go to the printer. It's going to take a week to get it done. And it'll start going out April 30th. So that means the first week in May, prior to the posting, they're getting this. What is it? Would be a little before 5 or 6 days before the town council approves this. That's not correct. We agreed upon that, right, Kat?
Yep. We want it to hit as
It's
close
late.
to that blackout period as possible. So it's the week before it should be in households.
Yeah, we want it as close to possible when it's town council votes to put this to referendum.
Yeah, and it's just good for people who are, maybe knocking doors or making phone calls or talking to their friends or neighbors to remind them it's coming or that it just came, and to not throw it out and have a look at it.
We also, Beth, are discussing adding the amount that we have in reserve so that those going door to door can have additional copies of the newsletter to distribute.
Great.
Yeah, so what'll happen is we'll print up, we're determining how much more to print up, which was, we have to bump up the budget there, because we're only usually 100 overrun. I think in this case here, it wouldn't hurt to have between 300 to 500 extras, but make sure they're distributed before the quiet period.
Yeah, because this has really everything you need to know about the project in paper form, in one place. So we want to make sure we have enough to distribute
Right.
through those outreach efforts.
Just a technicality though, with the quiet period and this material, if it was in the hands of someone prior to the quiet period and then was distributed after by someone else, that would be fine, right?
That's fine. This is why we print stuff. This doesn't break any election laws at all. They can't. The only thing they can control is the website, because
Right.
that's a day-to-day thing. But once something gets printed, it's a done deal, and, so if we said, okay, we're just printing extra ones here for the library during this period, and all of a sudden they're just gone. That's just it.
Right. The town isn't distributing it anymore at that point. It's
Yeah,
already.
in other words, it should be removed from libraries, public spaces, that whoever else wants it, a wink and a nod, you take what you want, you use it for distribution,
Right.
So this is a way of really getting the message out and reminding people, to do it. And my assumption is, I think more people are going to open this up when they get the mail, because they got 2 newsletters. And given this is going to be a little more bulky and it's going to be glossy and have photos on it, I think people are just by nature going to want to open it up.
Yeah, and I think the word is getting out. People know this is coming, and they'll be intrigued by it.
So if you ask about the photos are stock photos. We didn't want to use any current ones. In this case, families recognize I didn't get permission, So these images are typical high school kids, a little diversity built into all this. And so that's what it is. So I always get the question, who are these kids?
Right.
So if you have to answer that, just tell them, for copyright and protection, these are pretty standard photos of kids who, represent our high school.
And I know I'm probably an exception, but I have not received one newsletter at my house, and I really watched for that second one.
Really?
I don't know if you have any, if that should indicate any concern with your mailing list or your mail house, but I just wanted to say that I'm clearly not on the list.
Well, Beth, I'll personally deliver if you want it. I'll hire a mailman that's dressed up and say, here, Beth, we're sorry, here's the other 2 we forgot to deliver. I'm really surprised, because we check on this. It's a 98, 99% delivery. So somehow, you have someone in your mailbox stealing your newsletters. I really do not know why you're not getting them, because where you look at we're so careful on these zip codes, they're called carrier routes. This is what we do, and it happens.
Yeah, I know.
And sometimes, believe it or not, a mailman might have a heavy load there and looks at this, say, it is a 3rd-class bulk, but it doesn't happen very often. Or you have a temporary mail carrier that wasn't sorted properly in a post office. I can give you 100 reasons why you didn't get it. And it's usually post office related.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not reflective of an overall problem.
I don't think there's a boycott of your home.
Beth, are your neighbors getting it?
Okay, so I did check with 2 of my neighbors, very similar in kind of age and demographics in terms of kids in school. And unfortunately, they told me they really don't look at their mail. All their bills come electronically now, and
Wow.
This is the downside of everything.
they assume as junk mail. But these are parents that are engaged and aware. So, even if they saw something on the high school, they might think, well, I'm all set. I'm voting yes. I'm good.
Well, then I would suggest that our next meetings, Kat, that we're doing live, the neighbor, whatever, tell people, please look in the mailbox. You're going to be getting a one more mailer from us.
I think that's
We know you don't like looking at paper, but please, in this case, do that.
Maybe
Maybe
even-
get the town newsletter.
No,
I do newsletter, and I get the BOE newsletter. Yep.
I think that in the town newsletter, I did not receive, there was a message about all this, wasn't there, Kat, in the town
Yep.
newsletter?
It was right
Okay.
on the front page.
So,
Right.
so Beth, your neighbors don't even open the town newsletter?
Doesn't sound like it. Sounds like they just keep their recycling bin right near the door, and I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this is the time of year. It was the time of year where tax forms are coming in, and they've got kids in college. Some of them. I don't understand.
I know. I've heard these stories so many times, Beth. Anyway, I know we want to get the meeting moving here, but we think this is an effective tool. It's, it takes the infographic and call an info poster. And we can't think of any other way of conveying everything we're dealing with other than through a document like this.
It looks really great.
Thank you. It was good input from everybody. And this could not happen without, being clear and getting the information we needed from everybody. Does anyone have any comments on it? Wendy, what do you think?
Yeah, I had a question. How set is this with your stock photos? Like, is this completed or is there room to change some images?
Well, the images we're using from what the architects gave us.
Okay, well, I guess where I'm going at is if we're talking about diversity and your images, there's a big population of Indians and Asians. So as I'm looking at the pictures, and I know that's one of the subgroups that I'm working with to talk about the high school plan, just wondering if, they could be included as students.
I was going to give the same feedback that is a large population here in Farmington, and I don't see
Well,
that group, represented. I think it's just important. So it might be something that we could look at, maybe a different photo, some different photos to make sure that we're representing, all the backgrounds of our population.
well, there's 2 Asians in these photos, believe it or not, a Latino, we have a Black. The only thing we changed over here a little bit was we thought, this is, we debated putting in a teacher with 2 women students or girls in here, which is a focus on science. Because you have so many people over at the health center, which is a big topic over there. That was just a subjective decision. But we do have that diversity, and it's balanced out based on your demographics. We have ones that are all Asians. So I have to find images that show at least a little diversity in here, given the space we have and so forth. So, the only one I could see changing over here would be the one on the left, if you want me to drop the science and the young girls.
I think if we just take a look at that, and I know you're adding some photos on the back, just to make sure that the students in the photos are reflective of our community.
Yeah.
I think just taking a look at that and making sure that everyone is represented.
Yeah, we wanted to show on these 2 other photographs on the left and right some activity, and get the ones I showed at least some diversity in it. And in the middle, some of it's because of the designs. There's others with other photographs. It's just, we do that. But the ones on the back, Wendy, do have it's extremely diverse photographs from K-12. But we have a big library to go through it, and we just take a lot of time trying to find ones. But we felt, given the community and given with STEM and all the focus on that, and also collaborative working together with a teacher and showing diversity there. So that was our judgment calls. But on the back, definitely we have a lot more diversity. So when you turn on the back side, you're going to see kind of equal for everybody.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that suggestion, Wendy. That's incredibly important to make sure that everyone is represented. I think if no one else from the committee has any comments, I do see a hand up on one of our attendees. Marcus, I think you're able to speak.
Okay. Hey, real quick, there's a lot of great information in here. I think it'll be good to have in people's hands, so it's a very comprehensive look at everything. I just encourage you guys to go over it really carefully. Obviously, it's really small on the screen and you can't see much. One thing that popped up to me is in that center panel below the preparing our students to be global citizens, there's a photo of the student entrance on the left and the sort of classroom quiet side on the right. The way that caption reads, it sounds as though you're saying the cafeteria, auditorium, and gymnasium are on the neighbor's quiet side. I know that's a sensitive topic for the neighbors, legitimately so. So whatever we can do to just remind people that it's been designed in such a way that the loud side of the building, including where all the public events would be and that sort of thing, is on the opposite side of the neighborhood.
Sure.
So it's just the way it reads. I know that's not the intention, but that's just the way that reads. So I just encourage you guys to go over everything.
That's big.
Yeah, we can take care of that.
Okay.
So we couldn't put both sides of it in here, and it just needs, we've given that the neighborhood and Highland and everything. We just wanted to show that this is the quiet side. All right, we'll fix that copy.
So anything else related to the newsletter? All right, thank you so much, Ira. I think this is really an exciting newsletter that all of our residents will receive, and the timing to me is like perfect. So really excited about that. We're gonna move on to social media updates. Any updates on social media?
I think we're just continuing to share everything. We are going to fix that glitch that we had when we weren't able to live stream our meeting last night, but thank you to Comprehensive FHS, who was able to share our meeting on Facebook and get a large number of viewers. So, I mean, just keep sharing it. People are doing a great job of disseminating the information that we are putting out there. Really just driving people to our meetings and making sure we're continuing that engagement. So thank you to Beth for telling me I was missing some events on the list, but those have been added. So those are free to share. I appreciate all the feedback. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with all the posts that we have going on top of all these presentations. So please email me if you think of something I should be posting. I need all the help I can get.
I know it's a lot, and I was looking for it so I could share it, and that's the only reason why
No, I appreciate that, because I want to make sure we're getting all that information out, and sometimes it's hard to get to it. So if you can send me something like, oh, I think we should be posting this, or you're missing that, please, I encourage it. I need those reminders.
as long as you don't mind, that's good to know. I did have a question about related to that, the senior meeting, and I
Yep.
think I sent an email because I just noticed it last night that there's that list of other meetings that the senior center is going to host live in person, but they're still doing the senior meeting, right?
Yes, that's correct. And I didn't include that in the list because these are additional ones that we're adding to the list of the option. I think what I'm going to do today is reshare that senior photo and encourage signups as well. That flyer that we have dedicated to the senior meeting. So yes, those were just additional meetings giving the in-person option.
Callback number, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you.
I don't know what that was.
I think someone was getting a voicemail.
Are we also, I'm thinking of, where our retirees and seniors would get information. Would Everbridge be another good source, or no, to put information out? I just don't know if social media is the only way.
I'm not sure what the demographic of
Okay.
Eversource users are, but I'm happy to use that as another avenue as well. I mean, it doesn't hurt. The more that we're disseminating
right.
this information. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that would be email versus social media, which is probably going to hit more the demographic maybe that we're looking for. Although, I think there's a high usage of social media among this age group that we
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm just
But-
trying to make sure that
use.
in every possible way.
Is it something we could ask some of our senior supporters like B. Stockwell and, some other folks to share mail to their network? Because this is our last senior meeting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's important for every meeting,
Yeah.
the PTO leaders and the school-aged parents sharing with their networks to get people to these meetings is what we need.
Yeah.
And that support regarding, the referendum date and getting out to vote is what we need. So yeah, utilize your networks, everyone, and encourage people to do the same.
Yeah, it does take a bit of time, but I think that's that personal connection and reaching out to people's pretty valuable.
Absolutely.
So any other updates? Okay, so we're going to move on to agenda D, new business. And do I have a motion to approve the new business items 1 through 3, cancellation of FHS Building Committee Communications Subcommittee meetings on May 19th, 2021, June 2nd, 2021, and June 16th, 2021.
Ellen, motion.
Wendy, second.
And any discussion about this?
I would just note that these are meetings taking place during the blackout period. You will see on the agenda as well for tonight's meeting, we're canceling meetings in the blackout period. We are also canceling the June 16th because my understanding is that is FHS graduation.
Yes.
So taking meetings off of that day as well. So these are just kind of getting ahead of the schedule, canceling things that are on during that blackout period and not interfering with FHS graduation.
Let's hope we have
Just a
many
question,
more
are we-
meetings after.
Yes.
Just a quick question, are we not allowed to meet during the blackout period? Is that the purpose of canceling these meetings?
Well, because we can't advocate for the project or, I mean, we technically could meet, but I think it's safer to cancel the meetings. We also really don't have business to discuss during that time because we are in the blackout period. So I think it's cleaner to cancel everything.
Okay, just curious.
Would that be a good time maybe for people who would normally be at a meeting to reach out to their personal network and do the emails and phone calls and just do what they can to on their own?
Yes, this is freeing up people to do stuff on their own, external from the committee as a personal resident.
Yes. Yes, I think that would be a good shift.
We'll have that conversation. Do we have one more meeting?
Yep.
In between here, and I think that's something we can talk about at that last meeting is, okay, you know, these are the next steps, this is what's happening, this is how we can engage.
Yeah.
And get some more, you know, just suggestions, talk, conversation, those kind of things, I think will be good
Yeah.
for the last, well, I'm not gonna say the last meeting. It's the final meeting before the referendum.
That's right.
That's how I'm gonna put it. So.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. So now we're at adjournment. Are there any other items before we adjourn the meeting?
I see a hand up again. I see
Okay.
Marcus's hand.
Thank
Just
you
in
for
time.
keeping track of that, Kate. Yeah.
I don't want to miss it, so I have it up on my other screen.
Yeah, real quick, sorry, I don't want to keep this meeting any longer, but two quick things. One, we would love to have extra copies of that poster to distribute on our canvassing efforts. And two, we are doing a massive town canvassing effort. And if you would like to join us, please do. Reach out to me, let me know. We've had BOE and town council members already out there hitting the streets. We have our own crew of volunteers, but we could always use more help. So feel free to reach out to me for that.
Kathy, can I suggest one more thing? I saw that nice note from B. If we can ask other people to send letters to the editor, to the Current and to the Valley newspaper, wouldn't hurt. You know, particularly during May. And they might put some in the Current, less so, but maybe the Valley and other publications. Letters like that are really important. And or share, I would at least share that one with the PTOs, stuff like that, letting them know that particularly being a grandparent is a nice story.
Ira, she's also shared that and a photo with the advocacy groups. So we're hoping to disseminate that at least on social media.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, social media is important here, but still people, particularly people who still read newspapers, like to see letters to the editor, which
Agreed.
is, they're not on social media looking at this stuff. It's a different group. When you go under 40, it's all, you know, digital. When you in 40 to 50, it's a mix. I mean, above 50, it's still pretty much print still has a big impact.
But I think it's good if we have these sort of statements from people like B and, you know, covering all the demographics, and then we translate that, you know, that can be easily put into a letter to the editor. We can kind of hit all aspects of just getting
Right.
the word.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with posting those letters to social media at all. to the group who would read those, but, you know, it's gonna be really thinking differently during the quiet period, who's gonna do what, and how we're gonna disseminate some of this.
Question, I guess during the quiet period, we're allowed to submit letters, right? I know we talked about that. Michael Smith had brought that up.
Oh, yeah, Wendy, you can't submit as a member of the committee, but you can submit individually. I'm a parent and a resident of Farmington, and I support there's nothing wrong with doing that, as long as you're not representing or using public funds.
Okay, just no reference. of being
It's
on
all, yeah, you have all First Amendment rights to say and do what you want. I've seen it all. I mean, I've seen board members go out and, not as a board member, and they go out and they run pack groups. I mean, I've seen the most unusual stuff, but as long as they represent themselves.
Okay.
and don't represent the group, or you're using funds, taxpayer funds.
Would you say, Ira, that to not mention that you serve on the Board of Ed or the committee in those communications?
You can't say, you can't put in any illusion that, any reference that you are, being a board member. I see things, you have to talk as a parent or a resident.
Right.
And not allude to being a board member, because that's influence.
Okay.
And so, unless you want to resign, and then you can say that. If you resign and you say, as a former board member, they can do that because they're not officially in that capacity. But as long as you have an official capacity to any of these groups, you can't mention it.
Okay.
And just to that point, I just want to let you guys know, I have a call today at 3:30 with elections enforcement to go ask some of these questions specifically that came out of our meeting last time. And so what I'm hoping to come to the meeting tonight with is some very specific language or direction to help us with that, because I know people are concerned, and they're concerned because they want to do the right thing. And so elections enforcement is all about it. They're happy to talk to us. They want to give us direction. So I hope I'll have that. If not, worst case, I can, I'll disseminate it certainly before blackout, but I'm having that conversation at 3:30 today.
So Megan, I need to clarify something then, because as elected officials, council members, board members, we're being asked from advocacy groups for statements. So this is happening before the blackout period. So if an advocacy group uses a statement by a town council member, just for example, or a board member, we need to find out if that's okay. So it's not coming, I don't know. So I think it's important to get that clarification.
Yeah, anything you do before, Ellen, my understanding from doing this a lot is that you can represent, because you already have stuff that's out on the sites and so forth like that. But if you do something before as a board member, a chair of the board, we wholly endorse this, those kinds of things. And because this can be date and stamped.
So an advocacy group can use that after the May 11th blackout.
Right. It's public information. If they downloaded it or recorded it or did something, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't shut down free speech. You have to separate the free speech from using public funds, is really what they're concerned about. And this is where people get mixed up, is that, and particularly if you're on an official function, you just can't represent that group. So after, for example, a posting, you went there as, let's say, I live in town, my kids graduated, or I have kids in school, I definitely support this, this project. And then that's perfectly legal to do that.
Yeah, so I think the clarification as to whether or not you can mention that you serve on the Board of Education or on the town council before the quiet period in something that could show up post-quiet period would be good to have for people. I think, you're right. They want to do the right thing, but we don't want people to feel stuck or frozen and not wanting to do anything. And then we don't get these statements out there.
Yeah, if you have a website, if you have a Facebook, or you're using, Instagram, and you're saying, I'm supporting this, I hope you go out and vote for this. Sure. It's the only time I've seen the Elections Commission slap people, and they don't necessarily fine it, it's that fine line where you're saying, I am the board chair and, you know, we're in the middle of this, I want you to go support it. Because then you're looking at your role. But they can't take your role as a citizen, a resident, have kids in school or whatever. I think you'll get this, Meg. Probably they'll tell you the same thing.
I think so too. You know, but I'm going to ask a very pointed question, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Beth, I think we know the answer, but let me just, I just want to ask the question exactly how you just stated it.
So do I have, I think we're all set. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:18?
Motion to adjourn. This is Wendy.
Ellen, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I know there isn't anyone who's opposed. All right, thank you all so much. I feel really good about everything that's going on in communication, and we've received lots of feedback about, you know, that that residents really appreciate the level of communication that's going on. So great job to our communications subcommittee.
Good.
And thank you, Ira, for your support.
Yes.
You know, no, it's your guys' support. I'm just you know, a guy who puts things together.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you.
See
Yeah.
see you tonight.
Bye.
Okay.